running at night can be intimidating, it can be scary. It's not uncommon that that's the number one fear for a new ultra runner. But if you want to run 100K, 100 mile, you will have to face this. You will have to face the night. But how do you run at night? How can you keep moving fast despite the cold, despite the darkness? Well, today I want to help you. I want to help you face this challenge. I want to help you face the night so that the night will become your favorite part of a race. Hi, I'm Simon. Welcome to my channel. I'm an ultra runner focusing on 100-mile ultra marathon, racing at least every month 100-miler. This channel is meant to help you have your adventure out there, providing you inspiration and tips to have your own adventure. Today, I'm taking some time to answer one of the most common questions I'm asked by new ultra runner, which is, how do you keep running at night? Because let's face it, running at night is a little scary. Will you get lost? Will you get cold? Will you trip on rocks? The trail is so technical. How can you navigate it without seeing properly? Quite frankly, running through the night is maybe the most intimidating thing for any new ultra runner, including myself. But it really doesn't need to be. Today I want to provide you tips to be able to face the night because, quite frankly, running at night is not what it's hyped up to be. You can easily get used to it if you know what you're doing, and running through the night can even become your favorite part of a race. It's a little more quiet, you will bond with people close to you, there's a camaraderie that happens through the night, and it's a little cooler. And let's face it, it's so epic to run through the night and then you have the next sunrise. So today I want to provide you tips to be able to see that next sunrise and to keep going through the night. And the first thing is to know what are the challenges with the night. The obvious one is that it's dark. Yes, it is dark. And in the forest, it can get extremely dark. But it's not just dark that makes it difficult. In fact, I would say that for myself, the darkness is really not an issue at night when you know what you're doing. But it's the other things that are particularly challenging. It's going to be the cold. It's going to be navigation. It's going to be running on technical trail. It's going to be being tired and sleepy. Your body not able to control its temperature, and really mentally it can be very taxing because let's face it, most of these challenges you can address fairly easily, but it will get in your head, and that's what we're going to break today. We're going to make sure that you're able to face the night and be confident about it. Probably cannot see it, but it's pretty cool because of the city lights. It's all red. We're going to start with the darkness. So when you're running at night, actually there's different level of light that you will potentially have. If it's a little bit more open, like in the desert, you will actually have the stars and potentially even the full moon. But if you go in the forest, even before sunset, it will get dark very quickly and you will need a light. So that's the number one thing, is that you have to have a light. And actually that's not true. You have to have two lights. You have to have a backup. So make sure that you have a good main light and that you have a backup system. But there's different options that you can have. The most common one will be to use a headlamp, which will go on your head. Then the alternative to that would be to use a waist light that will attach either to your backpack or to a belt. And you could potentially have a handheld. Usually a headlamp will be lighter. It's practical because your hands are free. But what I don't like about it, or wearing it on my head, is about the field of depth that you see and the perspective that you see, or that you actually don't see. All right, so this is how you see with a headlamp. And this is how you see if you hold it low. So that's why I never put it to my head. You really see the contrast or the shade much better, and it helps you see volume. But a waist lamp does the same. But there's advantages also to having a headlamp. So first of all, your hands are free, as I mentioned, but also you can direct your light very easily to where you're looking, which is extremely practical. If we move to the opposite, there's the waist light. Usually waist lights are slightly more expensive, much heavier, but also much brighter. So if it's something that is very technical, it's very nice, but it will be sometimes even overkill to have a waist lamp. But they're very popular because you see very well. And one of the reasons you see so well is exactly the reason I said before. Yes, the light is stronger, but also simply the light is lower, and that will project long shadow and you will see perspective much better. As to the specific that I'm using, I've used for a very long time a Peltz, and this is the model that I was using. It was all right. I was happy with it, but very often the battery would die before the end of the night, meaning that I really needed to have a backup battery and a backup to that. So I had to carry extra all the time, which isn't great. I've also used and still use sometimes a Kogala light. That's usually something that I will use when I know it's going to be very dark, very technical. Recently I've changed to a Phoenix headlamp. This is the model that I've been testing out for the past 2 or 3 races, and I'm very happy with the outcome. It's a great headlamp, it's very reliable, and for me the biggest difference compared to the Peltz I was using is that it will last through the night, no problem with one charge. I even at Quebec Mega Trail 100 mile, I went through 2 nights and I only used my main battery. I never had to use the backup. A couple of tips with the light also. First is that it's a good habit to use as little light as you need. All of the models that you will find, if they're good models, and I really highly should emphasize that you need to get a good model. You should not be cheap on a light because it's gonna die on you and that's gonna ruin your race. So get a good lamp, and pretty much all of them, you will be able to adjust the intensity or the light power. And sure, it would be nice to always have the highest intensity, but the obvious drawback is that if you put the setting to the maximum, your battery will die. And I think it's just really a good habit to use as little light as you need to still be able to see and be comfortable running. Another thing also to remember is just courtesy. If you cross other people, try as much as possible to not shine your light on their face. So something that you can do if it's a headlamp, usually you can put your hand like this so that you still see downward, but not projecting the light in the face of people. Similarly with the waist lamp or anything else. And when you're at aid station, the common courtesy is to turn them off. So very closely associated to not being able to see is that you'll need to be able to run on technical trail with limited visibility. And that's something that is very mental and you will need practice. So I highly recommend go out there on trail during your training, have your headlamp and run. And that's important. You gotta be running, not just walking, because walking is easy. But right now we want to practice and get comfortable running with just that headlamp or that waist lamp. And that's also just testing your gear, being used to your gear, and is your gear good for you. Overall, I think it's easier than one would think to run at night if you have a good headlamp. There are exceptions, however, to this. One thing is that it's much harder at night, well, to see perspective, but with the shadow trick it's helpful, but it's hard to really detect surface at well. And if, for example, the trail, it was raining, it's wet, it's slippery, maybe it's muddy, it's gonna be much harder because during the day you're very able to know where you step, is this maybe gonna be slippery? At night you might step on something that you thought was a rug, but that was actually a little bit more muddy and you will slip. So you gotta be a little more careful at night. So practice, practice, practice. Oh yeah, and that's a little post edit. I forgot to mention also the other thing that is not as obvious is that you don't see what you don't see at night. And it's hard to explain, but when it's daytime, you see everything. Whereas when it's nighttime, a lot of your vision, especially in the periphery, is filled with darkness, something that you don't see. Okay, yeah, sure, that's kind of stupid, Simon, why are you saying that? And the point is that your light will very often be focused on where you're going, but you might not know what's exactly to your left. And sometimes what's exactly to your left could be a cliff or a downward that if you step on that, the terrain or the trail or the ground is not solid and you would fall. So be aware of your surrounding. To watch out because there's a lot of this sometimes brushing your feet and there's a little bit of this. Otherwise, you keep grinding. Maybe some people are not as familiar to being in nature. I've always been in nature quite a lot. I've seen a lot of bears, definitely more than 50 encounters, probably 100 encounters with bears. So it doesn't faze me anymore. But someone who's lived most of their life in the city and might not be used to being in nature, you might be a little more worried at night because of animals. And the reality is that it's really not what you should be worried about at night. I remember when we did QMT, Quebec Mega Trail, you can have a look, that was a pretty rugged race. We saw a cute little fox next to the trail, and actually we didn't see it at first. It was another group that was stopped. And I was expecting that there was a bear or something kind of major blocking the trail. There's a fox there, and I was like, oh, that's cool, like cool. Is it okay for you guys if I go, or like you want to take pictures? And they didn't know what to do. They were kind of scared of the fox. And for those who've dealt with fox, you shouldn't be scared of a single fox. Nothing's gonna happen. It's like crossing a cat, honestly. It's not dangerous. If you walk by the fox, it's gonna run away. It was surprising that the fox would stay there and look at us, which made it a very fun and pleasant encounter. So actually we went forward to kind of show them that, hey, don't worry about it, like we can go. And of course, I'm still alive, so I guess I was right that it's not so scary. But there are bigger animals, right? And you could spook them because it's night, but because you have a headlamp, you're very visible. So in all likelihood, you're not gonna meet anything at night. Yes, again, it's dark, you don't know what's around you, but the reality is that most animals wanna avoid you. And another encounter that we had with Nora, well, we didn't see that one, and that one was actually scary, was when I raced Ouray 100-mile ultra marathon, which is my favorite race, but also the most hardcore race with 40,000 feet of gain. I walked past what was the remaining of a deer and only the leg. It was bloodied, freshly killed. And if Nora had not been with me, I would have thought that's in my head, but she was with me. She was not tired, and she saw the same thing. And then you make the math very quickly when you're used to nature and the area. And it's like, okay, well, there's a dead deer. It did not die of natural cause, I can tell you that. And clearly someone was eating it. And there's not so many options. The most likely option was a mountain lion. And of course, the mountain lion heard us coming, saw the lights, and was in hiding. But at the same time, based on where we were, there were not so many hiding places. It's like there's one tree there, there's one rock there, very close to where we are, and then there's a cliff. So you know that the mountain lion is right around the corner looking at us right now and wondering, hey, are they gonna take my food? Because I'm not cool with that. So we went away very quickly. But what is a real danger at night are cars. And okay, yeah, you're in the middle of a trail, you're fine. But if you ever run, and there are races that will be like that, but if you're in town, you run by the side of the road, make sure you are extremely visible, and always, always, always assume that the drivers don't see you. Because accident can happen. You're not going to be killed by a bear. You're going to be killed by a car. Well, hopefully you're not killed by a car, but this is very important. Your headlamp is very bright for you, but compared to the light of a car, it's very weak. And I hope I'm not scaring you with the you're going to fall down, you're going to slip on mud, you're going to fall down a cliff, and you'll never realize, because at the end of the day, pretty much all of that is mental. And you need to get comfortable, keep pushing the pace, keep running at night. It's all gonna be in your head, and you gotta be comfortable with that. And for me, I remember very specifically when I was much, much, much younger, and it was not trail running, it was camping by myself. I don't know, I was 10 years old, or I don't know. And I remember being left alone, sleeping in these bivouac, it's not even a tent. And of course, when we did that, the instructor made sure to tell us a lot of stories about bears and how the bears eat that little kid a few years ago. And hearing the noise around, the animals and everything, and it really gets in your head. And was there any real danger? No. Was I scared? Yeah, I was scared. It was so scary. But after that, after doing it the first time, I realized that I'm still here. Nothing happened. The night is a blank canvas for your imagination and your fear. Like, that's when you're a kid, right? When you're a grown up and you're trail running, it's easy to overthink a little bit. What if I fall down? What if I trip? What if there's a cliff? But don't let it get in your head, and practicing will help you be comfortable there. Before we dive any deeper, if you appreciate this video, if you think this is helpful, please leave a thumbs up, a comment below. There's plenty more tips video coming soon. In fact, this video I started making more than 1 year ago. It's one of the first tip videos that I filmed, but I was never happy with the editing. So I went to the drawing board quite a few times because I want to produce a movie that is helpful, that is getting to the point, but also contains all the information so that you can be successful out there. So plenty more to come. Subscribe to the channel, leave a thumbs up, a comments below, and thanks for watching. Now we're going to dive into what I think are the actual real challenge of night running. What for me, I still struggle. Night running in a race in 100 mile, typically that will happen when you raced all day and you're extremely tired and your body is slowly breaking down. And that is the first and the biggest and the main challenge. Your body is breaking down, you're getting really tired, and it becomes very mental. It's dark, it's cold, you're by yourself, you don't see anything, and you're in pain. You gotta work on your mental game. You gotta stay strong. And I have some tips on staying strong, but really this is where you should be like, all right, this is it. This is the moment Simon told me you will be challenged in 100 mile and I can do this. Like focus on your mental game because it will hit you. It's intimidating to be at night. The next thing that for me is very closely associated is that the night is colder, right? Especially if you're in the mountain, the temperature is colder, maybe you're wet. So you gotta prepare for that. You gotta prepare having extra layers. But beyond that, remember that you are tired and your body will really struggle keeping warm. So have more layers than you would think is necessary. Very often we have races that will start maybe at 4 in the morning or early at night the first day. And you can be in t-shirt and you will be fine then. You don't need anything. You'll be fine. The same temperature the night after, you have to have your puffy, you have to have a hat, you have to have gloves because your body is just not able to handle it anymore. And you're not able to run anymore. If you're cold, run more. Well, that's easier said than done in the second night. So prepare for that. Have extra layer. It's better to carry too many layers and not use them than not have enough. And a tip that can also be very helpful staying warm at night is that if it was a hot day, you might be very sweaty. Like I'm very sweaty right now with the light on me filming this, but you might be sweaty. And during the day, that was fine. That was helping you. But if you go into the night wet, you're gonna really struggle because you won't be able to dry. So what you can do is before the night, you will plan your race accordingly and have a drop bag that will have your headlamp, your extra batteries, your puffy jacket, your long sleeve. Also have an extra t-shirt, potentially even underwear and shorts or long pants, and change everything. And when it comes to sleepiness, some people are good at dealing with it, some people are bad. I'm actually very good at dealing with sleep deprivation in my day-to-day life. It's very common that I will go to bed at 3, 4 in the morning, editing movie or working, and then being back at work the next day, same time, no problem. I can work with very limited sleep, but during a race, I can be sleepwalking. And to me, that really shows that it's two different things. The sleepiness that you experience in a race, yes, it's because you're sleep deprived, but it's not the only factor. But there are things that you can do to help. First, you can try to manage caffeine better. You can try to limit your caffeine intake during the day. A lot of gels, a lot of energy fluid have caffeine. So you could try to not have any during the day. And when the night comes, you start using it. But caffeine is not the only thing. Caffeine is a stimulant. But I think the reason we're sleepy is, yes, sleep deprivation, but also our body are tired. We exert so much energy. Eating will help you. And there's different foods that will work well and not work well that late in the game, but try different things. For me, something that will revive me and makes a huge difference. And in my race, you can see it. I don't always say it, but I'll get to an aid station and I will have ramen noodle, 1, 2, 3 bowls, and I'll have some Coca-Cola. The two of them combined, yes, there's a little bit of caffeine in the Coke, but the two combined, the salt, the liquid, and the carbs, just kind of, I'm back at it, baby, let's go. Another thing that can help is just raising your heart rate. We're often walking at night because it's dark, but mostly because we're tired. For me, when I notice that I'm sleepwalking, if I have the energy, I'm gonna try and jog a little bit. It's gonna wake me up. It's gonna help. It's a lot easier to get lost at night. That's pretty obvious because you don't see everything. And something that has happened to me is missing a junction. And that's where you do 1, 2, 3 miles and then you're thinking, geez, I haven't seen anyone in a while.
Oh, geez, okay. Oh, geez. Oh, geez, Dad. Oh, jeez. Oh, man. Jeez, serious?
And then you realize you're not on the course anymore and you gotta go back. First, have the course on your watch, and if possible, have alerts on your watch that will tell you if you're off the course. If possible, if the course is not too crazy with junction, know when there's an upcoming junction. It's pretty rare that you will get lost because you don't know where the trail is. Usually these trails are well maintained. It's pretty obvious where you're going. The biggest danger is to miss a turn. So know when there are expected junctions. About these markers, a lot of races will use something that is visible like glow stick, but not all races. Sometimes the races will have marker and there will be a reflector. And that's the one danger with the trick that I provide, or also with waist lamp with the lamp, is that a lot of these reflectors will work much better. If you have a headlamp, it's going to reflect directly on the marker and you will see it very bright from very far away. If your light, however, is a waist lamp or you're holding it in your hand, you might not see the reflection and you might not see the marker at all. And that's it. These are the tips to be able to face the night. Because running at night is scary, is intimidating, and it's much more than just about darkness. Yes, darkness matters, but it's about running on technical trail. It's about not getting lost. It's about not getting into your head that there's so much ahead of you. But dealing with the cold, being tired, you gotta learn these things and you gotta practice. Hopefully these tips are helpful and will help you appreciate the night, because the night can be the most special moment. Very often when you're running at night, that's when you have a pacer. And for me, that's when I'm running with Nara. There's the stars, we're talking or we're not talking because I'm feeling like crap, but she's with me. And these night runs, I know might sound a little harder or more challenging, but it's very special. It's very much an adventure, and I realize every time I'm doing that wow, I'm running through the night because I'm badass. And there's my badass wife with me, and there are the stars, and there's the moon. And even though you cannot show it on camera, it can be extremely beautiful out there. The stars and the moon can be enough to light the mountain range, and you have a gorgeous view, and you're going through the night. So I hope that these tips will help you get out there in the night, be confident in yourself, and have a great adventure. As always, thanks for watching. If you appreciate this video, please leave a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and see you next time.
Just need to see for a second.
It's hard to even describe how good it feels to be here.
Next shot.